The best way to deal with these pastors, the chassis of intermodal, is to look at them and inspect them, learn about them while you have a chance. Here you have a lock. This is a front lock. This lock goes this way or that way. It is a horizontal lock. It is locked from with this handle. You can move it back at the front. The reason why it stayed in the same location after it is unloaded is because of the mechanism they download, they lower the trailer. They lower the trailer on this spot and they slide it. That is why it is still projecting outside. And you come here sometimes after you hook to the trailer, you discover that the electric connection is lost or disconnected. So all your work is wasted if you don't inspect before you make sure that you are hooking to a well-functioning chassis. The lights are not very critical in the front. All this section of the chassis is not really very sensitive in the inspection. The problem, of course, if you have no handle or you have a crooked connection, this is hard on the hand because as you see, it wiggles a lot. This part here wiggles a lot. Even if you can put it like that, it wiggles. But you need to make sure it is tight. Sometimes you have no choice but to deal with this junk. And you can tell this is a nice, decent chassis because it is not very rusted. It's very straight. Look at the lines, very straight. Compared to what? Compared to this one. This is old. Then you have your paperwork here. This is where the trooper will ask you to show the registration. You open this handle and you have the paperwork that proof that you did not steal it from somebody and are not using the wrong equipment. Then when you go to the back, you have too many options here. Well, we have a very good choice here. We can now compare. This is a very long line of slots. This is very short line of slots. Let us look from here. These two different designs, by the way. Why they are different, I cannot tell you. Just the design is different. Look at this. Here the slots start from here, and here the slots start right at the back. But these are the very short line of slots, and you have only a single pin. This is the only pin you have here on this side, and you have another pin on the other side. This is a very simple design. This is a miserable design. You have two pins, one here and one on that side, and two on the other side. That's one here and one on the other side. That's four pins. This is the most miserable chassis you can ever have. It can ruin your life, ruin your hand. You can get injured. Have one pin here, have one pin in the back. This chassis have only a single pin right here. What is the difference in the mechanism? Here you can tell. You can see it with your own eyes. Very simple mechanism. You have the handle. That handle right there. You can pull the handle. The handle is pivoted with that arm, and you have a retention or recoil spring that tensions or put tension on this linkage, so it keeps this linkage all the time pushed this way. If you cut this coil spring or you remove its arm, it has two arms. One arm is right here, hooked under this metal thing, and the other arm is hooked in the slot somewhere under right here. It is coming from, I show it to you when I go under. It's right here. Let me show you from the bottom. Well, if you understand that coil must have two ends. That's one end, and there is another end here. This other end is supported or jammed by this edge, and this end is supported or jammed by this metal design. That is how the retention coil's purpose is to keep this arm, this portion, relative to this portion under stress, which means under stress in the upper position. So when you pull with your arm on this lever, on this hand, when you pull your hand, you push it this way. If you look at here, you can see I am putting tension on the spring. You have a defect now. Do you know that? What is the defect? Look at that. There is a defect right here. There is a loose. This should not be. That this one is missing a pivot, missing a bolt. Is it missing a bolt? I don't see holes for the bolts from the back. Maybe it is not missing a bolt. Maybe it is just welded to it. I think this is just welded to the axle. So that recoil spring is tensioning this arm in relation to the axle, to this axle, not in this frame. That makes sense. So when you put tension here, you keep these two terminal limbs pushed away. Pushed away means that you're pushing this pin away that way, you're pushing this pin that way. So this pin comes from here. From here. When you put pressure on it, when you put it from the other side, you retract the pins. Why is this simple? The other one is not. If you look from here, you can tell this is the beginning and this is the end. Just two pins. Very simple. Very simple. Here you have a miserable design. Here, look at that. You have the handle here. That handle has a notch. If you look at this, there is a notch here. This notch was supposed to be put in that slot. You're supposed to pull. I cannot even pull it. I cannot pull it when it has no load. That is a miserable, that is a devastating. Well, I'm not going to scratch my hands. You pull this arm with the gloves. You put this notch in that slot. When you pull this arm, you have a recoil spring. Here you can tell, this is one end of the spring, of the recoil spring. The other end is that one in the bottom. In the bottom. Remember, some people don't realize the spring have to have two arms. So if you try to disconnect it, you try to disconnect the other arm and hooks the lever to it, it's not going to function. That spring putting tension here, it is not putting any tension, as you can see. It's a very lousy design. What makes it miserable is that long arm that goes to the back. Look at how stupid design is. That huge, that long arm have to go back to retract the other two pins. Well, you can say, well, it's just a rotational problem. The problem with the rotational of this axle is that any slight misalignment or rust is going to put a lot of resistance on your arms and make it impossible to retract these four pins. That's four pins. That's one pin right here. This is one pin. And this is your arm. And this is your push arm. And this is your part of the spring with a washer. And this is the other end of the spring. And you follow this axle, this long, miserable axle. This one does not have this design. You have another pin here in the back. You have four. You have four. So whenever you choose a chassis, you try to avoid any chassis that have four pins. Give me a break. This is a very gentle and nice and kind chassis on your hand. You come here. Where does this pin in the back, two pins, get their retention from that long axle. That is why it is so hard on your hands. You can get stuck at night and you don't even know anything, how to get out of a miserable situation. And many times I have to shut down and go to a hotel. The rest of the components at the bottom, I think I addressed it in other places. This is a can or air tank for the brakes. This is another air tank, what we call it a reserve. This has two air tanks, right? How many air tanks do you have here? Also it has two air tanks. Then when you come to the back, this is the lock that would lock the trailer. You spin it this way, it locks the trailer. You bring it this way, it unlocks the trailer. And then when you lock the trailer, you have to make sure you tight. You bring this handle here and you put a zip tie between this and that. Of course, I cannot leave it like that. That would be a very like tampering with equipment. You have to leave it like this because you are going to put the trailer on it, the container on it. You need also to inspect each one of these handle to make sure that your mechanism is okay. This is not a problem. As you see, this is a very heavy duty thing. Even though it is nasty on the 4 pins, this one has a disadvantage. Some people advantage, sometimes this screw gets lost and you have a problem. You are missing these parts, or somebody put a screw and bent it. Here is the problem. When somebody put that screw other way, here is the head in this side and the tail on that side. Sometimes people make a mistake. You don't have very good background in mechanics, and they put that in the other way. So the tail comes here, it gets stuck here, it gets stuck here, it doesn't go under. So now this is very smooth. Sometimes you run into this miserable situation where you cannot solve the problem when you are stuck at night. Here is another design. Also, this one is a short rack, a different design where you can hold it and you put this arm on it and you tie it with a zip tie. This one, as you see, has only single pin. It has a very miserable split rings and the split trims. This is one of the most miserable wheels. You can tell here is where the rings are split, and here where the rims are split. This is a nightmare. You have a flat tire. This is tubed tire. It has tubes in them. So that can ruin your day when you have a flat tire. Why this one is retracted and this one is not? Most probably the precision of design. This is a more precise design. Is it more precise or less precise? If you leave it like that, it's not going to hurt anything. If you leave it like that, it's not going to hurt.